everybody. Vince Pennell from Real Talk with Vince here. And lucky enough today to have Rebecca Hewett, who is our One Nation candidate running in the Legislative Council. And I believe she's number 3rd on the ticket. So as things go, if the One Nation manages to get the vote and get in there, we may have Rebecca Hewett in. She's been kind enough to sit for an interview with me and is sitting there going, oh my God, what have I done? But Rebecca is actually from the country initially and has, as she said, a 7th generation custodial farmer from up north, but is now living in Meadows. And Rebecca's been, as I said, kind enough to come on tonight or today, depends on when you're watching this, and answer some questions for us so that you guys can get to know another candidate in this election. So with that, I'll frame this first off. The Australian Legislative Council is a house of review who don't run departments, who scrutinise and amend and, if necessarily, block legislation. And today or tonight, we're asking how you will use those powers should you get a position in I like to call it the Senate, but it's the Legislative House.
Yeah.
So first off, before we get really going, would you like to introduce yourself, Rebecca?
Thank you, Vince. Thank you for having me on, and hello to all your listeners. And as you said, we are 7th generation farmers from a place called Butte, which is on the top of the Yorke Peninsula. I've got 3 boys who are all grown, and I've done 7 years as an elected member of council, most recently on the Mount Barker District Council. And so I was also lucky enough to run federally for One Nation in the last federal election for Mayo. So I have a real passion and a joy for community service and for helping people and getting outcomes. I'm a very outcome-driven person. I'm very pragmatic. And I just love hearing people's stories and just trying to find solutions for them.
Okay, excellent. I didn't realise you ran in the federal election.
Yeah. Against Rebecca Sharkey. The 2 Rebeccas and both of us in orange.
Oh, yeah. Okay, that would have been an interesting combination.
It was. People got us muddled up all the time. It was really funny.
Yeah, okay. I'll say nothing there because I'll bet that might make me impartial if I say anything. So I better shut up. Okay. So our first question for you is energy affordability. In the future energy legislation that might be put through the House, what amendments would you make before supporting it?
Well, One Nation's position on any energy policy is that it should be open to the free market. So there should be absolutely no cash from the government, no subsidies. So whether it is wind, solar, nuclear, coal, gas, it's all got to stand on its own feet. Now, we do have a policy where we would be bringing in a coal-fired power station back to Port Augusta. That would probably take 3 years to build. It would also shore up the grid. So we have a very aging grid in South Australia. On Yorke Peninsula, we lost the power 19 times last year. Up to 5 days was one of them. And also this year, since January 1, we've had the power out 6 times at Butte. Wow. So it is an aging infrastructure. It's not just the renewables, but the entire grid. The transmission lines get what's called air pollution. Air pollution, but they get salt and they get dust. So the Yorke Peninsula has ocean on both sides, and so they get covered in dust and salt. And they changed the insulators. I don't know, Vince, if you're aware, but we used to have ceramic insulators. No, what do we have? We had
they were ceramic.
No, the new ones are ceramic. They've changed them to a cheaper one, and that could also be caused. They're a lot cheaper. Those insulators are cheaper, but are they also contributing to? We're just getting more and more blackouts. So we just feel we need safe, reliable power for this state, so we can bring back manufacturing, we can bring back businesses. The biggest cost of businesses is the interest rates and the cost of power and cost of rents. So, but another thing we've got a lot of gas. Like, we're a huge gas producer in I don't know if it's just South Australia, but all of Australia. But we need to look at gas as well. Like, if gas is going to be cheaper for powering vehicles and powering factories, well, we're open to gas over coal. Like, it's whatever will come out cheaper. But unfortunately, the nuclear we're open to, but we're not even allowed to have that discussion in this state. There's a ban. The government have banned even discussing nuclear.
Yeah, I think that actually might be federally, that ban. But so just, you said 19 times last year, one of them for 5 days.
Yep.
And then another 6 so far this year.
Yep.
And that never hits the news. Do you find that amazing?
It is amazing. I don't understand why the legacy media are not reporting on like just everyday issues affecting everyday people. Like, you hear all this stuff about the motorbikes and the circus that Mally from marketing brings, but like, they don't talk about the real issues that are affecting everyday South Australians. It's almost like they don't care about us either. It's obviously the legacy media are being fed by the legacy party, so they're not interested in us at all. It's people like you, Vince. It's the independent media who will share these stories and talk about it. So I'm very, very grateful that you are out there, because it needs to be exposed.
So surprised. I didn't realise it was that consistent up there.
Yeah. And the Yorke Peninsula, they are the hardest hit. In the state, Yorke Peninsula are the hardest hit.
Wow. Interesting. Yeah. Excellent. Okay. Renewable targets and costs. Would you vote against energy legislation if independent modelling showed that it increased household costs?
Look, they're not renewables, Vince. Let's just clear this up. They are unrenewables, and they are environmental vandalism. So One Nation has no time for any sort of renewables. We believe in climate change. It changes 4 times a year, summer, autumn, winter and spring. And that is the only climate change that we have, the 4 seasons. And we will not allow renewables. We will be banning these wind and solar factories on prime farmland. They pollute the ground, they pollute the animals. I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but primary producers now have to declare on their livestock form if livestock have been grazed near wind farms or solar farms, because they know of the toxicity that pollutes the ground, the grass. The animals then eat the grass that is polluted by these monstrosities, and then our livestock is not worth the same money at market. So it is, it's disgusting.
I love this. Here I am, right? And just to be fair, Rebecca rang me. I'm not sure how I'm going to go on this. And here she is supplying us with all this information. That's the second thing I've learnt today, and I've only gotten to question number 2. Right?
People don't talk to farmers.
Yeah, well, I used to be on a farm as well, but I didn't know that was a part of now. You have to mark that. That says something. Again, why don't South Australians know this?
Exactly, right? Exactly. And I've actually been called a liar, and it's like, do I actually have to get out my PIC registration and my livestock book and show them the actual writing in the book? Is so out there and unreasonable and unfair and so bad that people won't even believe that it's true. That's how bad these lawmakers are. And you've got to remember that they say that renewables is federal, but the state government are the ones that approve the transmission lines. Like, we can block this stuff. We can prevent another solar farm. We can prevent any of these things from happening. As a state government, we can do that because we just say no to the transmission lines. We say no, can't build them.
Yep. Okay, good. So that's 2 great answers so far. I'm afraid to ask the rest of the questions. I might learn too much. Okay, cost of living. Would you support mandatory cost of living impact statements for major legislation before it passed in the upper house?
100%. Whatever we do as legislators, we have to know the impact that it's going to have on people. We are employed by the people. We are here to serve the people. And we have to be so mindful of unintended consequences. So something can look like this is a classic example on council. So in Mount Barker Council, we'll have a really great idea come across the table, and we'll think this is great. But then when you take it along its full progression, that there are unintended consequences that you're not aware of. And like I can give you an example. So we had a community grants thing. We had 27 community grants that came through, and I voted for it. In the chamber, I said, yep, let's give the community this money. But hidden in the detail that I didn't see was that one of those community grants was for a Paramount Community Survival Day to be funded on Australia Day. And as soon as I saw that, and that was brought to my attention, even though I voted for it, because I hadn't seen that, because the stuff that comes across your desk, it is in government language that most people don't understand. If you're not a bureaucrat, it is so easy for an everyday person to miss stuff. But yet when you pick it up, you have to pivot, you have to change, you have to repeal. And I'm not saying that we're going to get it perfect, but certainly we'll be checking those things, because the cost of living is not affecting the politicians. They're in this bubble. And so they don't have to worry about the price of petrol. They don't have to, they get superannuation perks. They get so many more perks than everyone. And by the way, we're going to be getting rid of that, because we're not going in to get a great super and to get a great payout. We actually want to get rid of this stuff. We actually want to bring all that money down to comparable levels. So if you work in Parliament or you work at Harvey Norman, you're on the same superannuation. If same health, that they should not be above us. They should be equal, if not less.
I think that's been a bugbear of a lot of Australians, the fact that everybody else has to work hard for their super, and then when they eventually get it, if they go out and start working again, they lose that super and can't claim it properly, etc. Whereas the politicians get out, get their super, and then go and get another $120,000 paying job or something, and still collect their super. But that's my personal gripe. That's not yours. That's just what people say.
But just to in a nutshell, that cost of living issue, it is being created by the government. This cost of living is being orchestrated. It's almost like we're in a managed decline. It's like they're doing this on purpose. I sometimes feel the government really hate us. Yeah. I really do. Their energy policies are crippling us. They're anti-business. They're anti-Australian. They really are. They're putting global issues ahead of us. We are going to put Australia and Australians first. Nothing will get through the LegCo on our watch that does not benefit an Australian. If it doesn't benefit Australian, then we're blocking it.
Okay. So you have some idea of the questions I was asked because what's coming forward, but I'm going to throw one in on you now just to give you a hard time. You have met all of your South Australian, or most of your South Australian candidates that are running in the House of Assembly, as well as your 4 people in running for the Legislative House. Everybody there, would you say that there's a politician other than Cory Bernardi, who was a politician? Would you say there's politicians in that group, or would you say they're more ordinary people? Which would you say?
Of course, there's always going to be a little bit of a mix. We do have, I think, 4 or 5 elected members of council, but even those elected members of council are just everyday community members that have put their hand up. So other than Cory Bernardi, we don't have a politician amongst us. We are just everyday people. And it's interesting because even me coming onto your interview, I was thinking, why would you want to interview me? I'm a farmer. I'm not polished. I don't have the fancy answers and all of this. Yet that is what is connecting people to us. We're at nearly 25% in the polls. And that is because we're not perfect. That is because some of us are a little bit rough around the edges, diamonds in the rough. But at least people can relate to us. It's like last night there was a candidate debate in Mount Barker, or in Nan actually, and the local member couldn't get there because he had to work, because this dude has mortgage stress. He has to work, he has to earn money. And so I did that forum for him. But that's the thing. Labor and Liberal have so much money for TV ads, for advertising, all the rest. And then they sit there and they talk, but they don't say anything. And like you listen to them and it's like, dude, that's a lot of words. And you've said absolutely nothing and you've achieved absolutely nothing. And you're spending our tax money to promote yourself. And like we're just everyday people who are fed up. The fact that we've got 47 lower house candidates, which is more than Liberal, by the way, is a testament to the community sentiment about how hard life is getting.
Yeah. And because you mentioned it, and thank you, I will now promote something we've done here in Hammond, because I am based in Hammond, and they had a candidates forum as well. And that was done by Murray Bridge News down here. So thank you very much, Murray Bridge News, for a shout out. They let me record that, and I have actually put that recording up on FBN Media. So all Hammond people, you can go and have a good look at the 8 candidates that turned up for that particular forum. It's a very good forum, very well worth the watch. So you can make your choice. Okay.
And also, Joni Ward has put up the Nan debate as well from last night.
Really?
So if there's anybody watching, Joni Ward is a live streamer. He's brilliant. He's on the Mount Barker chats. So if you follow Joni Ward, he's got a 1-hour live recording of the candidate debate in Nan last night. That was the only debate for Cavell.
Okay, so that was Jody. Did you say
Joni? He's got a DRONIE. Joni Ward.
Excellent. Yeah. All right, so you guys can go and follow that one. That would be great. And if you're in that area, that's what you need to be watching, because that'll tell you who you've got. All right, let's move on, because otherwise we're going to get off track wildly. Right, for property rights review, would you support reviewing or amending existing laws that expand the government controls over private property? And what changes would you push?
Okay, the only changes I'll be pushing is to repeal the whole lot. They have no right. Absolutely not. We have had this fight with the miners. So apparently farmers only own the first 2 foot of soil. So anything on our farm underneath the first 2 foot of soil, it belongs to the taxpayer. And so a miner can come in and stake a claim and rip up our paddock and start mining. So that is absolutely wrong. We're still very aware of the Hindmarsh Bridge issue, where this fake Aborigine put up this fake claim, which then stopped the bridge being built over from, was it Goolwa to Hindmarsh Island? That is still very fresh in my mind. There was also a case in Western Australia where, look, we have an equality policy where we treat every single person the same, regardless of your colour, your skin, your creed, whatever. If you're Australian, if you've been here for 1 hour, or if you've been here for 1,000,000 years, you get treated equally. All this native claim rubbish has to stop. The government cannot keep closing. Like one of my children loves rock climbing. Guess what? He can't climb in the Grampians anymore, because now the Grampians are only for the Indigenous. No, it is for everybody. Ayers Rock, they closed Ayers Rock. How dare they close Ayers Rock? Ayers Rock is there for everybody. God built that rock, and that rock is there for all Australians, everybody that comes to Australia to enjoy. They're now talking about charging an entry fee to the 12 apostles. Should I call them the 7? I don't think all 12 are still standing. So yeah, in Victoria, they're looking at charging $28 to go onto a viewing bridge to see what's left of the 12 apostles. No, these are beautiful natural things created by God, which are there for all of us to enjoy, and hands off.
Yeah.
Can't be any clearer.
Good answer, I think. It is. I mean, we're just as much Australian as everybody else if we're born here, or if we've chosen to make this our country. So yes, understand that sentiment. Okay, moving on. Planning and community rights. Should the Legislative Council strengthen community objections rights in planning laws? So in other words, should the community be listened to more when planning is being done?
I definitely believe in community consultation, and I believe that it is not done enough. The only link I have is obviously with local government. Now, there is a two-pronged sword, this one, because firstly, the public do not understand the lawmaking process. They don't understand the policy-making process. So you can't just have a man off the street dictating to you how you're going to make a policy or a law. But at the same time, you need to consult with them and work with them to get the outcome that is best for that community. So the community doesn't necessarily have the expertise to do it, but you need to work with them in order to get them that outcome, if that makes sense. Because they don't have the training or the understanding that we have. But at the same time, we don't treat them like mugs and go, well, you don't understand, you don't know. So thanks for the consultation. We've ticked that box. Now piss off. Like, no. That's what happens in local government, is a tick box exercise. They say, we're going to go out to consultation. They consult, but they do not listen. And they do not, like, if you can't do it, don't just say, I can't do it. Say, well, how can we do it? How can we achieve it? If this is what the community wants, this is what the majority wants. Because the fact of the matter is that when we go out for community consultation, there are lobbyists out there. So you've got Animals Australia, you've got the Tree Huggers, you've got all these groups out there who jump on these community consultations, while the majority of us are at work, at kids' sport, we're trying to make ends meet, and you don't even see those consultations. And so the consultation is coming in from such a small group, which is orchestrated and very left-leaning.
Okay, excellent answer. Thank you. All right, health transparency. Would you support making health systems performance reporting legally binding and publicly transparent?
I would, but at the same time, don't gaslight them. If you want them to have the outcomes, you have to properly fund them. So again, sort of just coming back to council, we're expected to do all this work, but we're not funded to do it. So if you want doctors and nurses and hospitals to function, aged care and mental health, they are hemorrhaging. They need money. Mental health is a disgrace, an absolute disgrace in this state. The reason for the ramping is because the hospital beds are being taken up by non-emergency patients because the system is so broken. Yes, I want accountability from the doctors and nurses, but I don't think it's their fault. I think that government are just mismanaging it. And the fact is, they say they can't afford it. Why can't they afford it? Show me the books. I want to do an audit. Show me the books. Where is it hemorrhaging? Where is the duplication? Where are you wasting it? Do you realise that in SA Health, there are no health people? It's bureaucrats. And the bureaucrats have no clue what they're doing. We would remove all the bureaucrats from SA Health and we would replace it with medical professionals. We would absolutely give autonomy back to regional hospital boards so that the hospital boards out in the regions, they know what they need, and they're being dictated to by a city-centric bureaucrat who has no clue what they need in Whyalla or Port Lincoln or Wallaroo or Keith or Victor Harbour. Like, they've got no clue. Like, let Strathalbyn Hospital or Mount Barker Hospital decide. We're not going to be dictated to by bureaucrats sitting in the city. I do believe if we can stop the waste in the NDIS, if we can stop the waste in the government, we would have plenty of money to better fund our medical facilities.
Okay. So this probably relates directly to the next question, which is, should parliamentary committees have stronger powers to compel transparency from SA Health, who you were just having a shot at? So,
Yeah.
you believe they should?
Absolutely, but transparency goes both ways. So the government agencies need to be transparent, but so do the bureaucrats about the lobbying. The amount of lobbying that goes on, people are not aware. They're not aware that we have politicians that change every 4 years or 8 years in the LegCo. But behind that, the puppet masters are the bureaucrats. Now, the lobbyists don't even go to the politicians. The lobbyists go straight to the bureaucrats. And then the bureaucrats will come and say, oh, yes, how are you, Minister? How are you doing? Yes, just sign this. Great, you look lovely today. And the minister just signs off on it. All these deals are being done through the back door by lobbyists and bureaucrats. And it is like an underworld. Sorry, have I gone down a bunny hole?
Well, yes and no. It raises another question. So you've just earned yourself another throw-in question. So that's two you've got.
Yay.
Right. Mr. Aldridge didn't have to answer. He's my other candidate I interviewed.
Yeah.
And my phone, computer just did a thing. Right. The bureaucrats, if One Nation wins quite a number of seats, say in the lower house and in the upper house, you get your 3 or 4 people in. You guys haven't dealt with these bureaucrats before. Is that going to be a massive learning experience for you guys?
Well, we sort of brought in an ace card called Corey Bernardi.
Right. Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
This was very strategic. This was very, very strategic. Corey Bernardi is a heat-seeking missile for bureaucrats. There's nobody that knows this game better. And Barnaby is very invested with us as well. Barnaby Joyce has been down here a bit as well. And between Corey being in the upper house, he's our number one lead candidate. So he will definitely be in. He will show us the ropes. He will steer us around the potholes. And he actually has the respect. Like, he has the respect of the other politicians. They're not going to let me give you a horse analogy, because I'm a horse girl. So when you ride a horse for the first time and they don't know who you are, they might try to bolt, they might try to buck, or they're going to test you, and they're going to test you to see whether or not you're a worthy rider. And this will be the same in the parliament. So say Carlos and I got up. They're going to go, well, you're a builder and you're a farmer. We don't know who you are. We don't know you from Adam. And so they're going to test us out, and they're going to push the limits, and they're going to see if they can trip us up. They will not do that with Corey Bernardi. I promise you, they will not do that. And so Corey was a massive win for One Nation South Australia. And I don't know if that answers your question, but that will sort out the bureaucrats and they won't try it.
No, that's very good. So no problems. All right, next one. And that was a brilliant answer. I totally forgot about that. So well done. Emergency reforms power. Should existing emergency power laws be amended to strengthen sunset clauses and parliamentary oversight?
Again, 100%, they need to be repealed.
Okay.
It is such an overreach. The government overreach is terrifying me. It really is, because they may look innocent and innocuous at the moment, but if they were to choose to, they could use them and weaponize them against us. So no, we do not support it. We would repeal it. They are dangerous laws, very, very dangerous laws.
Okay, excellent. Thanks, Rebecca. COVID mandate review, my favourite. Would you support a formal parliamentary review into the long-term impacts of the COVID mandates? So that's not only the people that were injured, but those who got suddenly their whole life destroyed because they no longer have an income.
Yeah. The worst decision the government ever made was to not make Pfizer and who's the other company, Moderna, accountable. So basically, when they rushed through this experimental jab, they exonerated these pharmaceutical companies from any responsibility, even though these weren't tested, they weren't proven. They took. So in my view, that means the responsibility now falls on the government. And that means the government is now responsible, just as they're meant to care for our veterans. And they should be caring for the vaccine-injured people and the people who lost their livelihoods. People lost their jobs, their homes, their marriages during this. People couldn't attend family funerals. My kids had to cancel their engagement party twice. They had to leave their jobs and flee from interstate to get back here and then self-isolate in our caravan for 14 days. It was stressful. It was unnecessary. And I actually would go as far as say it was actually a treasonous act against the Australian people. And the actual government, in my opinion, acted like an enemy of the people. And Topher Field, his documentary on Battleground Melbourne, if you haven't seen Battleground Melbourne, see it. People, I've got friends overseas. I've done a lot of Christian work over in Texas and Dallas, and they were horrified. They're messaging me from Dallas going, what is going on in Australia? This is terrifying. And those same laws are still in place. They're not being talked about. They're nothing to see here, but they are still there. They need to be repealed because there is trouble coming. I can see there is trouble brewing, and this was a litmus test to see whether or not we would submit. And I actually think, even though we submitted in the beginning, I feel that the backlash from it, I don't know if they'll be that quick to try and pull that again, because I actually think that it failed on them. I feel that initially, like, we didn't know what was, did we? Like, Vince, we didn't know what was happening. We didn't know what was going on. And so out of fear, we trust the government and we submit. But after what the government did, I don't think we're going to trust them again, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. Okay. Getting back to that subject, for those that were injured, I can understand compensation is very much needed. But for those that were, I'm going to say it, stuff it. For those of us who were smart enough not to get the injection because it didn't smell, it didn't taste, it didn't feel right, and the science didn't seem to back it up at the time, who lost their jobs, wouldn't that be how you can't really, the government can't really compensate those people, because it's really just taking taxpayers' money away from the current taxpayer to compensate another taxpayer. So how do we get around that? Or can we? Or is it even possible?
I believe the government needs to actually, if you are a member of parliament, I think there has to be some sort of, like, if you're in business and you make a bad decision, there's a consequence. At the moment, there's no consequence. Like, that they're able to do whatever they want. Like, there's no debt ceiling. There's no nothing. They're doing whatever they want, and it's hurting people. Whatever the government touches, they ruin, and there's no consequences. I would really love to. The reason there's no consequences is they think, well, nobody would be a politician. But that's bullshit, because people go into business with consequences. Doctors go into practice knowing that there's the potential for malpractice. They need to be held to account, and there has to be some sort of thing. I don't know whether it would be like an insurance like doctors have or something, but if a politician, like, you look at Chris Bowen, that man should be in jail.
Okay.
He should be in jail for what he's done. Like, I don't know. Like, these are my opinions. Clearly, these are my opinions, and I don't have all the answers. But there has to be some form of accountability. Like, we've got a rule coming out with our youth crime, where if a youth keeps making crimes, we're going to make the parents pay for it. Like, if you have a 12-year-old come and steal your car, well, where are the parents? And so if a minister is in Parliament and they make a mistake, no, I'm sorry, take that out of his super.
You just answered the next question 2 down, which is about youth crime.
Oh,
could you support amendments to prioritise victims' rights and community safety in sentencing laws? And you've just answered that one, so we won't ask you that one.
Yeah, well, no, we will, and we're going to be judging the judges. So do you realise we don't have a crime spree with the youth? It's the same bloody kids. It's the same group of kids. The magistrates know them, the cops know them. But what's happening is the magistrate just keeps letting them out and letting them out and letting them out. And so we're going to actually bring in a policy where we're going to judge the judge. So if that judge lets out a kid and they go commit a crime, that judge is going to get pulled before their peers, and that judge is going to get judged. And if they keep judging badly, we're removing them. They can't be a magistrate or a judge, because they're not judging in accordance to community expectations.
Yep. Okay, cool. So that
can I just mention also the parole board? The parole board 2 days ago. Do you remember the murder of Anne-Marie Cullerton? So her sister Eileen Cullerton, this was 20 years ago that this guy broke in, raped and murdered her sister. And the parole board yesterday in South Australia released him. They actually released him. And he's breached his bail conditions like 9 times, and he's now been released. So we also need to look at the parole board. The South Australian Parole Board are not meeting community expectation.
Is that because of overcrowding? They're perhaps being forced
Build more jails. Build more jails. Not hotels. You're building them hotels at the moment. Build them jails.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. We should probably move off that one. We'll both get into some heavy discussions. All right. Freedom of political speech. If legislation expands regulations of online political speech, what safeguards would you insist on before supporting it?
I wouldn't insist on any safeguards. No safeguards at all. They shouldn't be there. Like, they just should not be. I do not support, and I would repeal anything that stops freedom of speech, freedom of gathering, or freedom of religion. I wish we had a Bill of Rights. I really do. And top of my Bill of Rights would be freedom of speech, freedom of gather, freedom of religion. If words hurt you, you need to take a teaspoon of cement and toughen up. Like, words do not hurt you. And I will fight to my dying breath to protect your right to say what you have to say. I worked in a chamber of councillors where every elected member was against me. The mayor was against me. But at the same time, I would fight for their right to say everything they had to say, because you cannot stifle free speech. When you stop free speech, that's when the violence starts. I don't want violence, therefore you have to allow freedom of speech.
Yeah, talk. Good answer. Now, however, I'm going to throw a doozy at you. Sorry, Rebecca.
Love it. No, I love it.
Freedom of religion also incorporates various religions, such as Islamic religion. And
we're not an Islamic country. Yeah, no way.
Compatible here.
No. Australia and Western society is created on Judeo-Christian values and a Judeo-Christian system. Whether you're a Christian or a believer, or it does not matter. Every Australian wants our justice system and our law system and everything, our constitution, the Magna Carta, everything is based on Christian values and on a Christian country. And Islam does not match. Islam wants to destroy it. Islam hates Christianity. They hate the West. And where I say the freedom of religion, that is fine. You don't. I've never seen a mass murder by a Buddhist. I've never seen a mass murder by any of those other religions. The only religion that does this is Islam, and Islam must be banned in Australia.
Okay. All right. That's because, from what I'm gathering, you're saying it's both a religion and a political thing. So,
what I'm saying is that Islam is a religion which hates the West, hates Christianity, and why the hell are we bringing those people here when they hate us?
Okay. All right. Good answer. Thank you.
Yeah.
The next one is infrastructure and population. Should major housing or planning legislation require independent infrastructure capacity assessments before going ahead?
Well, that sounds like just another level of red, blue, green tape. So at the moment, like 40% of a new build is compliance and tax. You talk to any builder and they are struggling. The master builders are doing nothing to ease the burden. They are not advocating for the building industry. They are just doing whatever Mally from marketing tell them to do. And we need to make it simpler. Do you realise the 40% extra on a house is not making the houses any better quality, any safer, or any stronger? All it is red, green, and black, blue tape. Like, it's not necessary. And it's all to meet this net zero, this crazy, insane net zero target, which is basically going to destroy our country, destroy our economy. So I just think that we need to get back to how we used to build in the 50s. We need to stop allowing immigrants to come in and build houses. I've been told by a builder not to buy anything that has been built in the last 10 years because they're not to code and they're not to standard, because these skilled immigrants are not skilled to the degree of our Australian builders. And they're not being required. They're not being required to go back to TAFE or to building a school. Like, every builder that we bring in from overseas needs to do maybe a 1-year apprenticeship just to make sure that they are up to date with our codes, because they are not doing it to our building code, and they're getting away with it. It's absolutely crazy. And I don't know if you know this, but like, if you were to build a new house, you have to put in a disability compliant bathroom. Okay. Yeah. So even if you live on a farm, and you're never going to, like, a disabled person's never going to live on a farm, really. But you still have to spend $30,000 putting in a compliant disabled bathroom. If you are a developer in Mount Barker and you're doing a development with, say, 300 houses, you don't have to do it.
Oh, really?
So I don't know if you're aware of that. So there's this inconsistency. There's a rule for the developers and there's a rule for you and me. And so this is absolutely crazy. We need to reduce the reach of government. the government needs to butt out of our lives, get off our land, and stop telling builders how to build houses. The overreach is just, it's strangling us as a country.
Excellent. Okay, so that's 3 things I've learned today. All right, balance of power. If you hold the balance of power, what non-negotiable principles will guide your vote? That's a difficult question.
I think the non-negotiables has to be anything that goes against what the people that I'm representing want. So the way I see how I would function in the LegCo is obviously you're going to be there on sitting days. But on non-sitting days, I plan to be out in the community and consulting and talking to people in industry and say, what do you think of this? How would you like me to respond to that? So I would not, like, obviously in the parliament, you do have to do deals. You have to be friendly with everybody. You have to get along with everyone, because we're not going to have the numbers to get things across without support. And so there's going to have to be some sort of compromise, but there is a line in the sand where you go no. And like, that's what we've done with our preferences. Like Labor and Liberal basically said they were going to hang us out to dry. And so we haven't preferenced anyone. We've made no deals. In the upper house, we did make a deal with Family First, but Family First are only a deal in the upper house, and they were the only ones willing to work with us. So in the upper house, we have preferenced Family First, but and they've preferenced us. But as far as in the parliament, when you're voting on a bill, you just have to have the people who put you there in mind, because they've got nobody else. Like if you back down and if you don't stand strong for them, who else have they got?
Yeah. Excellent. All right. Next question. Will you cross the floor if legislation conflicts with your stated principles?
100%. But the beautiful thing with One Nation is they give you autonomy. Like Pauline's up in Queensland, One Nation is fully supportive of all of their members to know their state, to know their town, to know their region, and we've got full autonomy to support them. So number one, I would never be required to cross the floor in the first place, but I certainly would if it did not sit with my values and my beliefs. I would cross the floor in a heartbeat. But I don't believe that situation would arise with One Nation.
Okay, excellent. Retrospective laws is the last question for the day before you get to do a big wind up on One Nation and who you are. Would you oppose future retrospective legislation outside serious criminal matters? The reason that question got put in there is because of the recent federal retrospective laws, which could be used to target me or any of us type of people who are out there talking about stuff, bringing up discussions that could be used to target One Nation in the future up and coming elections, which I would say is a 50 to 60% chance they're aiming to do that. Personally, that's my opinion. But those type of laws, retrospective, because that means in the past you're getting charged for something you did that was legal in the past and is now no longer. So unless it's a severe criminal matter or a serious criminal matter, would you oppose future retrospective laws?
Absolutely not. I would never support them, and I'd repeal them. They have done this intentionally. They are so terrified of One Nation's rise that I believe they're using the Bondi terror attack to put in laws, which they didn't need to add, by the way, because there were laws there for this. They just weren't upholding them. Yeah. But they used this as an excuse. And I believe, I've been told that the bill they brought, they had that written during COVID, but they couldn't bring it in. So this has been something that's been sitting there in the background waiting to come up. And as soon as they had the opportunity, they thought, we've had Bondi happen, let's bring it now and let's stop One Nation. And it is bilateral support. It's the uni party. So like Labor and Liberal are two wings of the same bird. Right. And so they are both trying to shore up their, sorry?
Yeah. Just to clarify, I said, would you oppose? And you said absolutely and not. So
I would not support.
You would oppose, is what you're saying.
I would oppose retrospective laws because that is so unfair. That is just that's gaslighting. That is setting people up. No. Sorry.
Just wanted to clarify that. So if anybody
Yes.
wanted to grab the sound bite and take that little piece, that was a mistake. So
They did that to Pauline.
misheard.
They
Yeah.
did that to Pauline.
All the
Yeah.
time. Okay.
Yeah.
They do that to a lot of anybody, actually. So
Yeah.
that happens all the time.
Yeah.
All right. Closing. What is one type of law that you would refuse to pass regardless of party pressures?
That is a good one. That's a very good one. One law that I refuse to pass.
Don't worry, I don't think my
That's
last
that's
person
you.
answer it either.
I would not pass any law that would be of detriment to the Australian people.
Okay.
We need our sovereignty. We need to look after Australia and Australians first. And I could not support any bill or any law that asked me to compromise on that. And that goes as far as, foreign ownership. Like if there was things coming in where they wanted foreign ownership, like poles and wires, SA water, like all of these critical things that are actually written into our constitution should never, ever have gone out of government hands. They should have always been owned by the people. Like the beauty about Queensland is Queensland still owns their resources, their coal and stuff. So like we've just we've hung ourselves out to dry, and I could never support anything that continued that. I want to rewind that. I want to bring our sovereignty back. I want to bring self-reliance back. I mean, it was only 20 years ago that we had fuel security here, and now we've got 7 days worth. This next, it's just terrible. But that was a hard question. But just I wouldn't support anything that was anti-Australia or Australians.
Yeah, no worries. Excellent. Okay, so what is your message for voters of South Australia as to the reason why they should nominate you to represent in the Legislative Council, or you and the party? What's your reason?
Yeah. Look, the reason is that for as long as I can remember, we've had a Liberal or a Labor government. And if you look at where we are today, we are the worst off that we've ever been, in my opinion. And so why on earth would you keep on voting Labor, Liberal? It's always Labor, Liberal, Labor, Liberal. One Nation is at a position right now that we are polling higher than the Liberal Party. This is our one possible chance to upset the apple cart and to break up the uni party. We need to capitalise on this. I understand that there's other great freedom parties. I understand that there's other great conservative parties and groups and independents. But we need you this election to put One Nation number one, because this could be our one bite of the cherry. This could be our one chance to break up the uni party. Both the Labor and Liberal are they're on the Titanic, they're heading straight for the iceberg. And all they're doing is they're moving everyone to the back of the boat and they're rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic, but they're both heading straight for the iceberg. One Nation is going to steer us around it so we don't hit it. I believe that One Nation is this country's only hope at the moment. Please vote for us.
That is very good.
Number one.
All right. So just as a reminder, thank you very much, Rebecca. Just as a reminder for everybody, right, with the House of Legislative House, I'll trip over my own tongue there, that it's 6 above the line and 12 below the line minimum. And you can choose the order below the line that you would like to nominate your candidates in. So feel free to rearrange it how you want. But effectively, make sure you fill out your vote is critical in this coming election. And as Rebecca says, it is a chance where the Australian people can have a final say and really do something about it. All right, Rebecca, I really appreciate the time you spent with me. Don't disappear once we finish the show. Stay on. I have a couple of other personal questions I need to ask you.
Sure.
Thank
you for having me, and thank you to your listeners.
Well, we don't have a lot, but we've picked up a few as they're coming through. I think people are showing interest in the politics of today at this stage, and that's what part of what Freedom Broadcasting Network's about. So
yeah.
With that, we shall organise to get going, and I'm trying to figure of an end to say. All I can say is 21st of March is a really, really important day. Vote with your conscience. Vote with what you think will be good for your children, and you choose the parties that you desire on both lots of preferences. In fact, FBN will be bringing out how preferences work video very shortly. So if you're interested, have a look at that.
Can I just finally, I'm a girl, I've got to have the final say, I'm a woman. But
go for it, Rebecca.
On the 21st of March, be part of history. Let's make history. Let's put this one down in the record books, and let's break up the uni party, and let's bring on One Nation.
Excellent finish. Thank you.